Everyone knows Itzhak Perlman loves music. Not everyone knows he loves a certain baseball team in Queens. So when we met him last fall, there was an obvious question. Is there a particular piece of music that you might think would be synonymous with the state of the New York Mets?
Well, yes. For this year, Tchaikovsky Pathetique Symphony, it's Symphony number 6.
The Mets might not bring Perlman much comfort, but comfort is the word he uses to describe the music on his most recent CD, Eternal Echoes, Songs and Dances for the Soul, a collaboration with Cantor Yitzchak Meir Helfgot. Why does Perlman call this his comfort music? Because it's the Eastern European Jewish music of his youth growing up in Israel.
Every Saturday, there was on the radio, I think it was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it was a cantorial music hour. How do you like that? You know, it's just like, I can imagine here in New York, well, listen to the cantorial music hour.
Perlman's violin has taken him around the world, but New York is home.
Yeah.
We spoke in the room in Lincoln Center where Perlman gives lessons to his Juilliard students. He also serves regularly as their conductor here at Avery Fisher Hall. And he teaches students in the Perlman music program created by his wife, Toby. Perlman has dedicated much of his career to teaching young musicians. When he was young, he dreamed of playing like Isaac Stern and Jascha Heifetz. Now, I would imagine young people come to you directly or indirectly and say, I want to play like you. What does that feel like when you start hearing that about yourself?
It feels like I'm getting old.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. Well, you know, I'm very, very flattered, obviously. But I keep telling them, don't play like me, play like you. Eventually, you have to give it your own individuality, you know, your own stamp.
He's used television to educate. And as someone who has walked with braces since childhood, the lessons to young people occasionally have extended beyond the realm of music.
You know, some things that are really easy for you are real hard for me.
His talent and gift of gab made him a frequent guest on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson.
He was the greatest. He was the greatest, you know, the best interviewer.
Perlman has long been considered an ambassador for classical music. He's played for presidents from Reagan to Obama.
The more exposure classical music has, the better it is. I mean, that's one of the things. It's got to be exposure. People have to know about it. It cannot be a hidden secret.
Perlman's work has ventured beyond classical music's traditional confines. He's played jazz and ragtime. But for one of his most famous recordings, the theme from Schindler's List composed by John Williams, Perlman was able to connect to the music of his immigrant parents and his ancestors back in Poland.
The first time that I heard it, I said, oh my God, this is incredible, because he got it. He got the kind of atmosphere that this music supposed to bring to the film. You know, you would think, oh, this is a very nice piece for a nice New York Jewish audience, you know, and so forth. Not true at all. I came from China last year. The thing they wanted to hear the most was, can you play Schindler's List, please? So it's you know, it's totally international. It's quite amazing.
When he was only 4 years old, Itzhak Perlman's world changed dramatically when he contracted polio.
I did not have any periods of time where I would sit in my room depressed saying, oh, what's happening to me? I don't know if I can handle it. No, that was a natural thing of growing up, you know. So I grew up before running around the block and so on. Now I had to do different things.
Like play the violin. Perlman has long maintained that he was not a prodigy. But when Ed Sullivan came to Israel in the late 50s to audition acts for his show, he chose Perlman. Sullivan brought him to the United States for 3 shows. The young violinist and his family left Israel for New York and eventually decided to stay.
We have a word, you know, when you go to abroad, and we go for hishtalmut, which means a completion of yourself. The dream is always to go abroad, That's the dream. And so when this chance came up, there was no question. You know, would you like to go to the United States, appear on a television show, and then go to the Juilliard school? It was a win-win. There was no question about whether we should do it or not.
Perlman and his wife have 5 grown children. He's been a New Yorker for more than 50 years.
This is our visit to Israel.
But he says when he goes back to Israel to play or conduct, it still feels like home.
Israeli audience is a very difficult audience because they've heard everything, and if it's good, if it's bad, they say, oh, what is that? If it's good, they say, well, of course it's good. You know, so you can't win.
Unlike the pianist who occasionally can't stand the piano, or the tennis player who hates the racket, Perlman says he's never grown to dislike the violin.
My life is not 150% on my violin. You know, I can play a concert and have a wonderful time, and then the next day I'll go and see a baseball game. Therefore, I don't have that thing about, well, you know, today I'm not gonna bother with music.
There is a direct line between the music on Perlman's latest album and the music of his youth, the latest chapter in a long and fulfilling journey.
Isn't that the most amazing thing, that you can make a living doing what you love so much, and that everything evolves all the time? You know, that's with me. You know, everything is evolving. I learn from every performance.
One-on-One with Itzhak Perlman, Bud Mishkin, New York 1.